Hello. Today we have Ronnie with us, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what she does.
Hi, Rita. Thank you for having me. I am the executive director, I'm the new director of the Southside Family Center. It is a Catholic Charities organization.
Well, tell me a little bit about the organization and how did you get involved with it?
I recently was addressed to join Catholic Charities about 7 months ago as an assistant director for 2 other family centers in the city of Hartford. I decided to take on the challenge from my previous position as the early literacy librarian at Hartford Public Library. And the reason I decided to take on the challenge is because I believe in the motto of the family centers.
Well, tell me a little bit about the family center and what exactly do you do there?
The family centers in the city of Hartford since 1995, I believe, have been funded by Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. And family centers are strategically placed within different neighborhoods in Hartford. And just to give you an overview, it's a place where families come. It's a community hub where families come, and we help them, we support them as teachers who are the first teachers of children to get their children ready for kindergarten and all the way through high school so they're prepared for college.
So how young do they start?
We take families with children who are birth all the way up to age 18. Over 70% of our families, though, have children between the ages of birth and 8.
And is this done, the older ones that are going to school, so this would be done after school or projects on the weekend or?
Well, the way we're designed is we have multiple programs for families. We have programs geared for parents to educate them on how to be better parents, education in child development, support for the parents through different programs like Nurturing Families, Triple P. We have a fatherhood program. We have a Brighter Futures Initiative program, and we also have a basic human needs program that we're now changing the name to financial stability. And all these programs are geared to support families along their path to self-sufficiency.
And how do these families come to know about you, or how do they sign up for these programs? Do they get them through school?
Well, we are not in the schools. We are in neighborhoods, and families mostly come to us through word of mouth, believe it or not. So once we meet a family that's in crisis and we've met their needs, they will introduce other families to the family center.
So is this more for families in crisis, or is this for anybody who may need any kind of help?
The family centers are designed for anyone who may need support when it comes to parenting or education or leadership or civic leadership or advocacy. Like I said, it's a community hub where families can come for different reasons. And depending on the reasons they come to us, we have programs in-house that could meet their needs, but we also refer them to other community resources to meet their needs.
So if a family has some children, they could bring the children, and at the same time, maybe they could take some classes at the same time? Does it work that way, or?
Definitely. That's generally how it works. For folks who have young children at home, or if the child is in child care somewhere, the parent can come either with the child or without the child. The particular center that I work for has a school readiness center attached to it. So moms can drop their children off and then come to parenting classes at the center. We also have a wonderful program that's called Dinner and a Story, where in the evening at our center we do it every other Monday. So in the evening, folks can pick their children up at the School Readiness Center. They can walk across the way, which is just to walk across the driveway, and they can sit down and have a nice family-style dinner and listen to a story and then do a pre and a post activity to get them connected with their children.
And this school that you mentioned, is it a regular school that children go to?
Yes, it's a school readiness center. It's for children preschool age, which is 9 to 5 years of age, and like I said, it's a school readiness center. It's
so they're
south
getting ready to go to kindergarten, basically.
Yes, it's a preschool center. Yes.
And how are you funded for these programs?
Our largest funder, as I said, is the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. We have multiple other funders that Catholic Charities reach out to through their development team. We recently had the Graustein Foundation offer us some funding for a particular program which was called Equity in Education. And we also most recently had the Black Given Circle arm of the Hartford Foundation fund us for a really special project.
What is that project?
That project was the Black Given Circle project, and the idea behind that project was to educate African American fathers on the importance of early literacy, to give them the skills that are necessary to advance children when they get to kindergarten, and also the practices. And it was tied to a particular program that we have, which is Dinner and a Story. So once these dads got the training, they were then able to help us facilitate the program Dinner and a Story. So they were the ones reading the story and doing the activities with their own children as well as other children that came into the center. So that is a very special project. We're still running it. I think it goes out till December, and we're hoping that the successes that we've had with this wonderful project will continue at all the other family centers.
And how many family centers are there?
We have 6 Brighter Future. We have 6 Brighter Future family centers.
And that's here in the Hartford area, or?
Yes, that's within Hartford. The umbrella for these programs is Catholic Charities, Family Life Education, and The Village.
And I think this program, these charities have been going on for quite some time, have they?
Yes, the Brighter Future initiative was created initially by a gentleman who now runs the early childhood arm of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. His name is Richard Sussman, and he had a desire to make sure that families within a particular neighborhood had access to resources and social connections so that they can help their children to be successful both academically and lifelong learning. So these were created back in 1995.
So it's been going on for quite some time. That's good.
Yes.
You have quite a foundation then.
Oh yes, there's great support for the family centers because we've touched many lives with lots of help. And the beautiful thing about the family centers is families who come into us sometimes maybe in crises stay with us. And they continue to then give back to the community, and they continue to bring more families. But the great thing is they make such connections, such trusting and valuable relationships, that they continue to come back and offer support to new families.
Well, that is interesting,
yes,
how it's turning around and doing all of that. Give me an example of someone that has gone through the program and how they've been helped and how they turned themselves around.
So just most recently, we interviewed a young woman who had come into the program. She was in tears. She didn't even know that the family center, and I believe this was in the Parker neighborhood, which is the north side of Hartford. She didn't even know what we offered, but she saw Catholic Charities, and she came in, and she was in quite distress with her partner at the time. It was a domestic abuse situation, and she continued to come. And we offered her lots of case management where we allow families to come and just talk about how they're feeling or what they're thinking. We have family specialists who do this work. And eventually she was able to free herself from that abuse. She was able to help her own children to get out from that abusive situation. So she felt a little safer. She went on to find work, and then now she has become a parent ambassador. So she gives her time back to the family center by encouraging other women and through telling her story.
Wow.
Yeah, so she has reached self-sufficiency. She's still in the process of dealing with some of, that trauma, but we're still here for her. And now she's turned it around and she's made it her lifelong goal to let folks know there is help. If you get out, you can come here. People can help you and you can get out from a situation that potentially is life-threatening.
It seems impossible at the time. So.
Yes. She tells her story pretty much in tears. I mean, our most recent newsletter featured her, and I had the opportunity to sit with her, and to listen to her story. It just brought me to tears. But I was happy to know that there are places in our city that folks can come to and feel free to share, and feel free to unload, and feel free to heal. And that was the biggest part of her healing, was coming out and having someone she can talk to.
Well, healing is a lot by sharing your story and helping other people. You're also healing yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yes.
And by hearing someone else and they say, oh, if they did it, then I can do it.
Right.
And everybody helps each other.
Yep. And that's exactly what the Family Center produce. We produce folks who have phenomenal stories that just by sharing their own stories, they will help someone else come along.
For the children, do you have events where they learn how to draw, where they do plays and do things like that?
Definitely. We have multiple events throughout the year for children. This particular family center that I'm at, which is Southside, we have every month we have a Family Day, where folks come out and they participate with their children on different activities, whether it's, reading, talking, playing, singing, writing. So those are the 5 elements of early literacy when it comes to practices that parents can do. So they have the opportunity to do that. They also have the opportunity at these events to learn about the resources within their community that will help to support them and empower them as they educate their children.
That is good. That's very good.
We enjoy it.
So the children that start maybe at a very young age, do they stay with you all the way through high school?
Yes, some of them do. Many of them come back and tell us the influence that family centers have had in their life. I remember an example of a young woman who's graduating high school now, and she's come back to the family center with her mom because her mother has multiple siblings, and she talks about how all the skills that her mother learned in leadership, that she has utilized it in her experience in high school and will do so now when her experience is at college. And so children stay with us for many years.
Do you also take excursions, trips, or anything with the children, or it's all done at the center?
Well, we do. At Southside, we have our School Readiness Center, and we're currently getting ready to go to Brown's Harvest. So we incorporate the field trip that the preschool children are going to with children who may not be in preschool, but they're family center members, so they have the opportunity to have a nice new learning experience where they normally would not have had.
How did you get involved with the Catholic Charities? What made you decide to go from a profit world to a nonprofit world?
Oh, that's a very good question. I was in a profit world for a long time, very long time, and I realized that, and I enjoyed it, it's just I realized that it was It was a lot about numbers and not as personal as I would want it to be. So when I was offered the position to come on board at Catholic Charities, I thought to myself that this would be a good time for me to explore my passion, which is helping others. Because I had folks help me as I grew up, and I have a deep desire to see other people helped so that they can move forward, and like I say, into self-sufficiency. So the Catholic Charities mission and vision matched my own quite a bit. And so now, in the nonprofit world, I realize that it's not just about a number. It's really about social services, and it's really about being the voice for folks who would have never had a voice, meeting a need where a need would have not been met for families in Hartford. And now, most recently, with the crisis in Puerto Rico, most recently it came across my desk that Catholic Charities USA is offering for us to send folks to Puerto Rico, pay their expenses, pay their food, pay their flight, so that they can help families in Puerto Rico, especially if the person has a family member that has been affected by this hurricane that we've had. So that's something I think is missing in the profit world, the human piece, and the part where you love on folks. For me, at least, that's what I believe was missing in the profit world. And I'm very happy, I must say, to be in the nonprofit world. I'm very happy because it fits who I am as a human being. I'm very much a humanitarian, and that fits for me. I was just telling someone that, if we don't help each other, then where are we going to be? If someone is just a number or a dollar sign, or, they just represent money, then we're not fulfilling the purpose that we came for.
Now, this is Catholic Charities, so do you have to be a Catholic, or do you accept anybody into your area?
Well, yes, this is Catholic Charities, and no, we do not accept just Catholics.
Okay.
We embrace everyone of all religion, all race, all nationalities, all creed. And I want to make that very clear that Catholic Charities, Archdiocese of Hartford, embraces every human being, irregardless of what they may think, feel, whatever their religious beliefs are. We have a migrant, refugee and immigration program, and we've taken in multiple refugees from multiple countries, and currently I've been noticing a lot of Somali residents, as well as a lot of folks from Africa come in, that they speak Swahili, and so some of the women were sharing the Swahili with me. So no, we accept everyone, all encompassing.
So if is your staff trained in all the different cultures, and sometimes there's sensitive issues with different cultures?
I must say Catholic Charity does an excellent job of offering diversity training, and I'm not talking about your normal diversity training. The training that I received when I came on board at Catholic Charities, especially along cultural competency, was impressive to me. And I say that because the young woman who conducted the training was very clear about giving examples from cultures, from different cultures, of what may be a norm and what may not be a norm. So for example, there's a culture that she talked about that the men wouldn't shake the hands of the women. And she felt disrespected because she was offering this service, this help. But as she explored it a little more, she realized that this was something that is a norm in the culture of these folks that she was serving. And so she then gained their perspective to then understand that they weren't disrespecting her. that this is just their culture. So what they have taught us, and what all employees go through, is to understand that there are certain cultures that hold certain values that are very different from American values, and certain morals and certain ethics that we don't hold true and dear, but we still need to understand and go the extra mile and respect that. So yeah, Catholic Charities does a phenomenal job when it comes to diversity training and culture and competency. I can say that wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. How large is your staff, and do they all speak different languages to help these people, or?
Mm-hmm. We have staff, let's see, I have 11 staff members, and then across the road we have the school readiness staff as well. We have a very diverse population. We have African Americans, we have Hispanic and Spanish speaking individuals. We have folks from Poland that work for us. But to answer your question, we have families that work for us that represent the families that are coming in. So what I mean by that is we have a lot of families that have come in recently that speak Swahili, for example. So what has happened is prior families that have come in that speak Swahili, one of those young women is now on board as staff. So we also utilize her as a translator. So that works out wonderful. Instead of having someone sitting there with someone they don't know translating, they've built trusting relationships with folks in the community that we use as translators.
Now, do most of these people at least speak some English that come there?
They do.
They do.
And we have ESL classes that we offer through Migration and Refugee. And so yes, they are learning English. And that's the goal. They embrace it. They want to learn English, they're excited, but at the same time, we encourage them to retain their own culture and their own language because, the brain for young children, we encourage parents, speak to your child in your own language first. Read to your child in your own language first, because from birth to 3 is when the brain can pick up any language. So some families are afraid, they're not going to learn English, and we say no, they will learn the English right along with whatever language it is that you use as your home language.
So do you accept all different types of families, or?
Yes, we do. We have families that you would call your traditional family, with a mom and a dad and a couple of children. We have families that are just single mother families. We have families that are just single father families. We have families that are the grandparents might be raising the children, or we might even have families where there's a guardian that is that has the right over the child. So we we are open to all kinds of families. I mean, today we just celebrated Family Day, and we had a beautiful book from the library, and it's called Families. And in this book, it explored all types of families. Even when folks ask the question about families that have a mom and a dad, or 2 moms or 2 dads, or we explain to folks that a family is the people that love you, that are in your life, that are taking care of you, irregardless of their gender, irregardless of them just being mom there or dad there.
How do you explain these unusual families to the children?
We utilize the literacy that we have. We collaborate with the library, and the library has an extensive amount of resources now on diverse families. And so we use the books and we read them to the children, and we educate them that, if you have 2 moms, or if you have 2 dads, or if someone is sitting in a wheelchair, or if someone is using a guide dog to walk or to see, that's okay. We're all people, and we all have hearts on the inside that are beating. that need to be loved. And I tell people all the time, I says, when you peel away the exterior, what you're looking at is what's underneath, and that is where we are all alike, irregardless of gender, race, color, creed.
How do you design your programs? Do you design them for specific purposes, or?
Well, it depends on the program. So the one thing that we do, though, with the foundation is we have a wonderful data management system. We survey our families quite a bit to find out their needs. So when we are planning our programs, it's based on the data that we've collected, because we've learned that it's wonderful if we see a need and we design a program to serve that need. But what we find has worked more successfully is if we ask families what their needs are, and based on the pool of information that we're getting, we then design a program. So to give you an example, I have a gentleman, he's now a chaplain. He himself, with his family, has gone through the family center way. And now he wants to give back. And what he wants to give back to is sessions where parents can come in, single moms, single dads, even staff members can come in and receive healing therapy, education around how to heal the trauma. And he did the research. There are large percentages of our family have suffered trauma. And so we have developed the program based on the needs that we see our families have a need for. And so we have a calendar that we send out on a monthly basis of all the programs that we offer. And I think that's the biggest aspect in our planning our programs, is that we find out.
How have you found success with these programs? Do you see success and you know that they work, or?
Oh, definitely. And one of the biggest way we gauge our success is folks just keep coming. They keep coming. Our numbers, as a matter of fact, most recently I was reading in our last data report that the number of people coming to family centers have been on the increase, not decreasing. And so the stories that folks tell us about how the family center has benefited them, and the fact that they come and they bring their other family members, is enough to know that for us to gauge our success.
How are all the cuts that's happening in Connecticut with our not balancing the budgets? How is that affecting you?
Well, that has affected and is affecting Catholic Charities tremendously. Some programs we had to cut. However, I must say, although those programs had to get sliced because of budgetary constraints, we have managed to continue servicing the needs of our families. A particular program that I'm thinking about is our fatherhood program. Although I believe it was October, although the funding for that particular program has been cut, we still meet with fathers for 8 sessions to give them the tools necessary. And yes, that does put a burden sometimes on our staff, but the folks that I work with as a team, they truly have a passion to see families thrive and become successful. So yeah, I mean, the budget constraints is affecting everybody, but we try our very best to make wise decisions on whether we're going to cut programming or staff, or do we need to decrease, or might we tighten up somewhere else.
How do you decide which programs to cut?
That's an interesting question. Since I've been at Catholic Charities, we really have not cut completely any program. Now, depending on the grant period of particular programs, they end. They don't get cut. But if we see a need, for example, I'll share with you a program that we run. At Asylum Hill, we run a Cooking Matters program, and it's coming to Southside. Now, we don't have funding from a particular grantor, but we do have our Brighter Future Initiative funding, and we continue the Cooking Matters, but not at the scale and the capacity that we would have done had we had more funding to retain that program. So since I've been there, we haven't actually completely cut out any program, and I'm very happy about that.
How many people do you actually work with at a particular time, or like you said, all different families? How many families are going through your program?
So currently we have 40, now if I was to add it up, I would say approximately 200 to 250 families are engaged in our programming.
That's quite a bit.
Yes, because remember, we have nurturing families, fatherhood, Triple P, Brighter Future Initiative, Basic Human Needs, Home Links, and the School Readiness Program housed under the Southside Family Center.
What is Triple P?
Triple P is a positive parenting program through the Office of Early Childhood. And what it does is it offers parents a systematic way of handling different challenging behaviors. It's an in-home visiting program.
So they actually send someone to the home?
Yes.
To see how the children are doing at home, or?
Yes, both Triple P and Nurturing Families are home visit programs. So we have specialists and parent support staff that will go out to the home and share education around child development and parenting, and bring activities to do with families, all to get them to a place where they feel comfortable being the first teachers to their children.
Is that a one-time visit or a specific
no, that's
amount of
consistent.
time?
Different programs have different criteria, so it is consistent. Some programs will follow children from prenatal to 5 years of age, and other programs will stay with families as long as families need them to stay with them.
Is that a once-a-week type meeting, or?
Yes, most of our home visitors are going out once a week to meet with families, yes.
Can you share a little bit more about some of the other programs that you do?
So we have the Brighter Future Initiative, and what that program does is folks come in, we do an intake, we find out where their needs might be, and we offer case management. We have a financial stability program where folks come in and do an intake, and if they have a need to pay a utility bill, or to pay rent, or to pay a gas bill, or even if their car has broke down and that's inhibiting them from finding work, we'll try to work with different folks in the community to get that car fixed. And then we offer them financial stability training, where we teach them how to balance their checkbook, how to see what money is coming in and how that money is being expenditure. And then we have our Home Links program, which is designed especially for home child care providers, where we offer education and we offer support to get folks licensed to become licensed home daycare providers in the city.
Now, we are a technology age in this country, in the world. Do you teach that to any of the children as well?
Well, what we have is a computer lab on the upper floor, and that's open to families. And over in our school readiness centers, children have access to computers. We don't per se teach computers to children, but we offer digital access to all our families.
Tell me a little bit more about how you train your staff.
Our staff gets extensive training. We have staff development. I most recently began here at Southside a couple weeks back, But when I was at the other family centers, we have a series called Lunch and Learn. So we utilize the Lunch and Learn series to train on any topic that we feel is necessary that our staff needs improvement. And once again, we use data based on staff surveys to see what staff is interested in learning, how staff is feeling, to gauge the temperature of where a staff person is, and then develop the professional development around that. We do that in-house. We also send folks out to get training. For example, most recently, I have a family specialist who's going to get the PEP training through UConn. There's Cooking Matters training that I'd like some of our family specialists to do. And then based on some of the data that we've collected, our center is working on a plan, study, do act. And what that is we look at the data, we see where we can support our staff, and we decide where we'd like to work with our staff. Now, we do look at the data, and we also come up with where we can support our families, but for Southside, we've decided that for this period, for this fiscal year, we're going to work with the staff, and we're going to work on helping staff understand how to develop boundaries, because working with a community that's so needy, our staff gets really pressed and stressed, and sometimes it's difficult to create those boundaries and say, I'm going to leave this here, and now I'm going to go home and take care of my family. So we're going to work on helping some of our staff deal with those types of challenges and just decompress from working with families that have such great need.
Do you have volunteers that also work with your staff and work with all of these people?
We actually do. We are currently working through our parent advisory board. We're currently working in developing a parent base to engage them to become parent ambassadors. So they would get similar training that the staff gets, and they would come on board to volunteer to assist the staff. And majority of these parents are also family center parents that have gone through some of the services and the programs that we have at the family center.
Now, you said you do a lot of looking at and how you can help people. Do you have some data to help you analyze the data that you collect?
Yes, we do. The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving collects the data through a data system, and they analyze the data themselves, and then they call us in to come and look at the data. They're called data site visits, data site meetings. And at those meetings, we look at the data. We don't compile the data ourselves. We just collect the information, and they feed it into the system, and then the data is there and it's presented. And then we make decisions based on the data where we're going to go for the fiscal year. And then we meet again in 6 months to decide how we're doing and what needs to be tweaked and what needs to be changed.
Is there a particular software that you use to analyze the data?
We are working with Connecticut Children's Medical Center. Mm-hmm. They collect a lot of our data. We also have a data management system called ETO. It's solutions systems based. I don't really know the technical name. For the family center, we just utilize the system to enter the data. When it comes to processing the data, analyzing it, and giving results, that's left to a whole data analysis team to do.
And I'm sure that's very valuable for you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, even in the nonprofit world today, we want to see the results. We want to see where we're making a difference in the lives of families that we serve. And we also want to see where we can improve. And the only way we can do that is to collect the data. And you know, it's tedious sometimes. You know, you get a lot of pushback. Why do we need to collect all this data? But I tell folks all the time, even in the nonprofit world, we need to see how our families are doing. How can we improve as an agency to assist our families? And the only way we can do that is if we collect the data. Mm-hmm.
Do you partner with any other nonprofit agencies?
Oh, yes, we do. We partner with multiple community-based organizations.
That's good.
We have to. We can't do it alone. I mean, one right off the top of my head that's right down the road from me is the Hartford Public Library, and we collaborate with them quite a bit. We collaborate with Community Health Services. We collaborate with other family centers that are not just under the Catholic Charities umbrella. We collaborate with Food Share. We offer turkeys at Thanksgiving. We offer food to folks who need to come in. We have wonderful community partners who will come and share their resources to our parents at the center. We most recently had the Open Choice coordinator come out. Hartford Public School comes out, and Hartford Parent Academy come out, and they speak with families. I just can't think of all of them at the top of my head, but we do collaborate with multiple community-based organizations. To name a few, United Way. We recently had, through our Day of Caring, United Technologies employees volunteer their time to paint parts of our building. And we just have the Hartford community just wraps itself around our families. We have lots of donations that we sort. We have a clothing closet. We have a food pantry. So we do collaborate with a lot of different agencies to assist our families.
Do you ever have a cultural day where people come in and show their culture, maybe dress or food?
Yes,
you do.
That happens through MRIS. But most recently, we had what was called a wellness fair. We found out there were a lot of folks in our neighborhood that wanted to understand more about nutrition. So we put together a wellness fair that happened in August, and that was for Southside Family Center.
What is MRS?
MRIS is the Migration Refugee Immigration Services. And that's
separate department?
Separate department. Catholic Charities umbrella, but a separate department. Not a separate department, a separate arm of Catholic Charities. And that's Migration, Refugee, and Immigration Services has been around for a very, very, very long time. And they're housed upstairs. We're housed on the bottom floor. Well, they call it the main floor, but it's 3 floors, and so we're housed on the main floor, and they're upstairs.
Can you tell us more about some of the other organizations that you work with? Like the ones that are in your building, or is that all?
Oh yes, no. We in our building. Thank you for clarifying. In our building, we have 3 different types of programs. So we have the Family Center, which has multiple programs under it, and then we have Migration, Refugee, Immigration Services, and we also have Youth Comprehensive that has multiple programs under it that help juveniles that are in the system. And those 3 programs do collaborate together, where we encourage the families that are in the Migration Refugee Program to attend the activities and the programs at the Family Center. And if we have folks that come to the Family Center or come to the School Readiness Center that need those services, we refer them up to Migration and Refugee. And then we also have our Youth Comprehensive Program that we open up for those families to join us with any type of programming that's necessary, and vice versa, we make referrals. So we work very, very close together collaboratively to meet the needs of all our families.
What do you mean by the juvenile in your system?
The person that would speak better to that would be the director, but because my understanding of the Youth Comprehensive Program is for youth from, and please don't quote me on this, I believe from 14 to 18 that might be in some type of court system, the juvenile court system, for whatever reason. Those are the youth that they work with. Or they might even be in DCF custody. So DCF might be their guardian. And I don't know all the details of the the Youth Comprehensive Program.
These would be the children and the parents would bring them, or would the DCF bring them? Or
No, these are the children. I've never seen the parents come with them.
No.
They're DCF, involved with DCF, and they're involved with the court system. So no, the parents are not coming with them to the program.
It sounds like it's quite a large program. How do you handle all of this as being a director and keeping on top of all of that?
Well, I'm directly responsible for the Family Center programming. We have two other directors, one for the Migration and Refugee programs and the other one for the Youth Comprehensive program. I certainly couldn't run all the programs. It would be quite a feat. But so we've split it up. So we have different directors for different programs.
And what prepared you for this, being director of this nonprofit? How do you think your profit world and some of the education and some of the different things that you've done have helped you?
I think a couple of things have prepared me for where I sit now. One of them being I was in a program, it's a middle management program through the city of Hartford when I was at the library. And that particular program helped me to hone in on my leadership skills. And it was shortly after that program that I ended up coming on to Catholic Charities as a program coordinator at Asylum Hill. And so another thing I think that prepared me was just my academic education. But more importantly, I think my experiences that I've had in the community, talking with folks and finding out what their needs are and finding out the pulse of the community, especially in Hartford, has really helped me to be effective in the position that I have now, because I truly understand what folks are going through. And I respect them where they are. And that's one thing I learned a long time ago working in Hartford with families, is that they're special, all families. But my families in Hartford are very unique and very dear to my heart. So just going out and meeting folks in the community has really prepared me to understand where they're at, and to know how to meet those needs and to engage them so that they can then go forward and engage other folks in their community, because, just myself, we can't just reach everyone.
No. You as a family, has that helped you being in this position dealing with families?
Yes, very much so. I have I'm a single parent myself and have been for about 14 years. I was married. I have 3 children. I have a grandson. And I must say that being a single mom was very, very, very difficult. And,
yes.
and is.
It is difficult, yes.
I say was because when my children were younger, it was a little more cumbersome than now. They're older, they're in their early 20s now. My eldest daughter is 27. So experiencing being a single parent and all the stressors that come along with that, I can understand what my families are going through. And learning what I've learned about child development, brain development, human development has really helped me in my communication with my own children and also with my grandson. I look back, they say hindsight is 20/20, and the things that I do with my grandson, I just wish I had that knowledge that I have now to have done with my children.
I think all mothers, we all say that. And how do we teach the younger generation this, because they don't really listen. And I find it very frustrating how to really teach them the knowledge that we have without letting it just go right past them.
You know, Rita, I heard a while back, I don't know who coined it or who said it, but it's something that I held dear. And the saying goes, you know, when I go, a whole library is going to go with me.
It's true.
So what I say to my children and what I say to young people that I have in front of me is, please don't just listen to what I say. Watch what I do as well. And I think the way we share with young people, you know, when we look at young people and we think, oh, they just don't get it. I think they do get it. Sometimes I think it's us who don't get it. Do you know why I say that? I say that because I grew up in a different time and a different generation. And I'm going to give you an example. When I was a child, my dad had 8-track tapes. My kids don't have a clue what that is. My grandson doesn't have a clue what that is. I didn't have a personal computer until I was about maybe 28, when they first started coming out in the late 80s, early 90s. But our children today have access to a technology, to an environment that we never had access to. So I have to tell my brain that I need to get up to speed to where these kids are at. And so when I tell my brain that, I get a perspective now of what they might be encountering. So when I see a young person, I think to myself, wow, the amount of information that's running through that superhighway called their brain is just firing left and right. And I think to myself, how do they keep it together? So I think just continue to love them, continue to model for them, and understand what life is for them from their perspective.
It's true. They have so much information being bombarded at them all at the same time. And sometimes you wonder, where are they going to go with all this, and how are they going to handle it? And I think teaching them that they can be what they want to be is so very important.
It still is. It still is. Everyone still has a dream. Everyone still has a hope for what they want to do or be. And it's up to us now to say, it's possible. Even though you have all this technology before you, the human element is still there.
Right, but don't you find that this technology sometimes really keeps them away from socializing, being with kids, getting out there and just being a kid and playing like we used to do? I feel in certain ways they are missing a lot of things.
And they certainly are, especially in our urban neighborhoods. So what I tell parents is, you're still the parent. Where are they getting the cell phones from? Where are they getting the computers from? We're purchasing them for them, purchasing it for them.
And I think television has too much influence on them.
Of course. No, well, now they have more than television. They've got iPads and personal computers and cell phones. And I know I'm missing some gadget. Some child's going to look at this, but what about this, Miss Ronnie? And I'm like, I don't even know about it. You've got Snapchat, and you've got Twitter, and you've got Facebook, and you've got something else. I can't remember. I had a young man say to me just recently, he said, "Are you on Snapchat?"
Well,
or do you even know what Snapchat is?
Well, how would somebody reach you if they wanted to get in touch with you? How would they find you?
Oh, okay, perfect. I have an email address and I have a telephone number. And if you'd like to reach me, I'm at 35 Groton Street. My email address is rbusgett@ccaoh.org. And my number is 860-778-3769.
Would you spell your email address out?
Yes, I will. It's R like in Rose, B like in boy, U like in uncle, S like in Sam, G like in girl, I like in Indian, T like in Tom, H like in Henry at ccaoh.org. Hopefully they're flashing.
Well, I
on the
think if they
screen.
do a search, perhaps even for your
Oh, yes,
diocese, they'll
definitely.
be able to find you.
Definitely. Come on out and visit us.
Well, thank
Anytime.
you, Ronnie. Thank you
very
for sharing
welcome.
all this. It was a pleasure to meet you and learn all about what you were doing, and wish you much success in your future.
Thank you, Rita. It's an honor to be here, to be interviewed, and thank you very much. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Okay.